The air was heavy with anticipation. It was one of those debates that had been hyped for weeks, a nationally televised forum on leadership, democracy, and the state of America's future. The stage was lined with panelists, but the spotlight quickly zeroed in on two of the most outspoken voices of the night: Dr. Jordan Peterson, the world-renowned psychologist, and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, the bold rising star who had made headlines for her unapologetic defense of justice and equity. From the very beginning, tension radiated between them. Peterson, with his sharp intellect and precise speech, leaned forward, his words cutting through the studio lights. "Congresswoman Crockett, with all due respect, you are unfit for leadership. You lack the discipline, the grounding in principles, and the composure that true leaders must have. Frankly, you are more a symbol of division than a bridge toward progress." The audience gasped. Some clapped, others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Cameras zoomed in on Jasmine's face. For a moment, silence stretched across the room. She inhaled deeply, her eyes narrowing not in anger but in resolve. Jasmine had faced critics before. She had endured insults on the House floor, online smears, and late-night talk show jokes at her expense. But being called unfit by someone as respected as Peterson struck differently. It wasn't just a jab at her. It was a challenge to her very right to be on that stage. Slowly, she leaned forward, her voice calm yet firm. "Dr. Peterson, I respect your work and I respect your mind. But let me tell you something. Being fit for leadership isn't about perfection. It's about authenticity. It's about standing in the fire and not backing down when people who have never walked in your shoes tell you that you don't belong." The audience erupted in applause, but Peterson shook his head dismissively. "That's rhetoric. I'm talking about substance. Where is the evidence that you are fit to lead?" That's when Jasmine did something no one expected. She reached into her folder and pulled out her phone. The studio lights seemed to dim as she pressed a button, and the sound of a recording filled the room. It was a voice message, raw, shaky, and emotional. A single mother from Texas, her voice breaking as she described how Jasmine had personally fought for her when the system had failed. She spoke of how Jasmine showed up at her home, advocated for her rights in court, and refused to let her family fall through the cracks. "This woman didn't just talk about justice," the mother's voice trembled. "She lived it. She stood beside me when no one else would. She gave me the courage to believe I wasn't invisible. If that's not leadership, I don't know what is." The room fell into stunned silence. Even the usually unshakable Peterson leaned back in his chair, his eyes fixed on Jasmine. The weight of the mother's words filled the air heavier than any argument could. Jasmine looked out into the audience, her voice steady. "Leadership is not about titles. It's not about Ivy League degrees or the approval of elites. It's about showing up when people need you most. And if being fit for leadership means standing up for those without a voice, then I'll wear that title every single day." The audience leapt to their feet, clapping and cheering, some with tears in their eyes. Shouts of "That's right" echoed through the hall. Even Peterson, visibly moved, adjusted his glasses, searching for words but unable to muster his usual sharp retort. Instead, he offered a small nod. It wasn't agreement exactly, but it was acknowledgement. A moment of respect, begrudging yet genuine. In that instant, Jasmine Crockett had shifted the entire tone of the debate. She hadn't relied on anger. She hadn't matched insult with insult. She had simply held up the truth, raw, unfiltered, undeniable. And as the night ended, commentators would replay that recording again and again. Clips of her response went viral, sparking conversations across the country. For many, it wasn't just about politics anymore. It was about what leadership really means. Jasmine Crockett walked off that stage not just as a congresswoman, but as a symbol, proof that when you fight for people with everything you have, the evidence of your fitness to lead will speak louder than any critic ever could. The lesson was clear. True leadership is not measured in applause, polls, or titles. It's measured in lives touched, in courage displayed, and in the quiet moments when doing the right thing matters more than being liked. And on that night, in front of millions, Jasmine Crockett reminded the world that sometimes the most powerful rebuttal is not a debate point, but a story of humanity that cannot be denied.